Combat Training. I am joined today with my buddy Jacob from Exodus Knife and Tool, the Preppers Bunker Outdoors, and I forget what the new one's called.
Mammoth Cave Lure Co.
Mammoth Cave Lure Co. Right on. And so, thing we've been talking about kind of offline, right? We've been noticing the way people have been reacting to the ice shootings and what we're seeing from people. And we had some conversations and we're like, these reactions, some of them are just straight unacceptable and some of them are kind of crazy. I may lose some friends over this. I feel like I kind of have lost some friends over this, but that's not the intention behind this. I don't care about the views or whether or not you like me based off of this. I'm really not going to say like insulting stuff towards people as far as how they're reacting, because I used to believe a lot of extremely retarded things before. And I'm sure, if you would have talked to Andrew like a decade ago, I'd probably be having some of the same reactions I'm seeing towards the ice shootings. But we want to talk about those reactions and some of the things within the ice shootings. So the number one thing on my mind with this is I see people talking about what's legal. So when we talk about Renee Good, I've seen a lot of people say like, talk about use of force in a legal way. Now, I get it. That's important, but it's not the most important. As in, if we are talking about what is right and wrong, that does not have anything to do with the law.
Right.
Jacob, do you have some thoughts on that?
I think
Damn. Immediately freaking freezes. Jesus. See, almost like this is what no one wants you to see.
Oh, connection.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Okay. So we often say or hear that all gun laws are infringements. We tie the Second Amendment to the Revolutionary War, at which point every single person who was fighting against the British was a criminal, and it was started because the British came to take everybody's guns away at the armory. Okay, so the Second Amendment was created because if the government had the right to take your guns because you were a criminal, then there would be no way to push back against the government. So when we talk about legislating morality, or we get into a discussion like we had with Kyle Rittenhouse of whether or not they were legally carrying, ultimately all gun laws are infringements. So if you're arguing that some gay gun law that is illegal would have restricted a person from carrying a gun or not, you're already on the wrong path. So the law,
it's like when it's like we see them saying like, you don't bring a gun to a protest. I'm like, whoa. He was carrying his gun. That's doing the right thing. Yeah. Like, and it's not like a thing I've been seeing in Florida, right? With open carry now being a thing, where a bunch of dudes who never carried their gun before are just now starting to carry their gun. And it's only because they're now allowed to without without having to conceal it. And same thing with when they got rid of permits, then dudes just all of a sudden started doing it because they were allowed to. Honestly, it would have been like the correct thing to do is to get training and carry your gun. That has nothing to do with a permit.
right?
Okay. Should you get your permit? It's really smart too. It's really smart too. But does it make it morally correct? No, it does not.
Right.
But sorry, continue, sir.
Well, and like you're saying, ultimately, all gun laws are infringements and legality that is not controlled by morality. In this instance, too, another thing that I think that we notice is we have so many cases where people talk a huge game. Recently, we had that one protester talking about if ICE comes into his house, what he's going to do, X, Y, and Z, talking up a big game about his background that was all a lie. It's what's crazy to me is we have so many people have the guns, they don't get the training, and if they're going to be real with themselves, they would never use the guns for the things that they're intended to be used for. And what the craziest thing about that to me is other countries like, say, France, where the citizens do not have firearms, the government does, and yet the citizens are willing to act more boldly against their government than we are. So we got people carrying guns for jewelry or for, I don't know, mental comfort, peace of mind, but not for actively defending their own lives.
Mhm. And you know, like on this side too, it's like I saw Kevin Dixie of No Other Choice. Great dude, go train with him. Good classes too. Um, I saw him talking about it. He's like, the Second Amendment will not be there to back you up. And he talked about how he has done many protests where it was a pro Second Amendment protest, and he of course carried a gun, and there's a bunch of dudes there with guns, and now what he sees is it's not a Second Amendment thing. Now, I will also add to this, like, um, because I'm sure people are going to start accusing me of being a liberal or whatever. That is not true. I am against gay marriage. I am against abortion. Um, I think you should have to swear an oath to Jesus to be able to join the military or the police. Um, I'm not a liberal. Okay. They're deporting Somalis. That's what they're trying to go for. I promise you, as a dude who grew up in Minnesota, who was like one of 10 white kids at his school, surrounded by Somalis, I promise you, I was never a fan. Okay. Um, so like, if people want to label me that, that's what I am. I'm not that. Okay. Um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So yeah, he said they're not gonna, the Pro 2A people are not gonna be there to back you up. Yeah. So it's there's a division between left and right, and conservatives and liberals. And then what you see now is that these people do not actually support gun rights, right? Because it's like he had a gun on him, he was there to cause trouble. Another big thing that I'm going to keep hitting on is people are trying to say what the intent of these individuals were when they do not have all the facts. And we're not going to stand here and pretend to know all the facts because we don't. Like, we're not any of those ICE agents. We're not any of the protesters. We're not any of the people who are um, being hunted down for deportation. Um, but like when I see people trying to establish intent, like on Renee saying like, oh, she was trying to run him over. Really? She was trying to run him over? Why didn't she do that, the first chance she had, or immediately on the second chance she had? And we'll come back to that. Or the guy was there, and he was, wanting to shoot ICE officers. That one is just like when Kyle Rittenhouse was first talked about, and there were people saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was there to hunt black people, which was crazy to say, considering the fact that the rioters were all white liberals. That wasn't even like the race thing wasn't a part of it, but they're throwing on intent onto Kyle, just like they're throwing on intent onto these two people.
Yep.
when you don't know that?
Um, the problem is whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you believe in inalienable human rights, then you believe in inalienable human rights. And if you believe that our government is bound by the Constitution, specifically the Bill of Rights, to protect these inalienable rights, then the person's backstory doesn't matter. And we used to look at individual rights in a different way. And so, one example I'd like to give of this is, especially if you're a boomer watching this, you remember Tiananmen Square. And so we had riots all across China, over 400 riots going on in China. The Chinese government decides to move in and take military action, and peaceful protesters decide to physically block this military movement and these tanks from moving in and killing everybody. So we have the um, legendary picture of a single person standing in front of a tank. That doesn't tell the full story, but that is an example of what we had these Chinese people do. They, without weapons, stood in front of the military to stop them so that they wouldn't go in and slaughter everybody. Of course, what did the Chinese government do? They slaughtered everybody. Just rampant murder, okay? And the entire world condemned China and placed trade regulations on China because it was unthinkable that a government would just come in and do that to its own people. The people were peacefully protesting. They were stopping the military from coming in and killing everybody, and the military had no right to come in and kill everybody. So these same people who were decrying China before and talking about the citizens' rights to uh, have a part in their government, even if that meant there. And there's that iconic picture uh, that the government didn't have the right to just kill them for it. Now, and we saw with Kyle Rittenhouse, the liberals blaming him for being there with a gun, and we saw Black Rifle Coffee doing the same. But for the most part, we saw conservatives supporting Kyle Rittenhouse and the fact that he didn't break any laws and he had to defend himself. But now these same people are blaming Alex, right? Is his name?
Yeah,
Alex
Alex
Pretty,
Pretty.
blaming him because he's carrying a gun and going further than that by giving him intent, like you were talking about, because he had a red dot sight and an extra magazine. He had two full magazines and a red dot. This is military grade.
I like for a while I carried 3 guns and an ankle med kit and a pocket medical kit and 2 flashlights and 2 knives just to prove the point that it's not hard to carry your gear.
And so,
I currently carry 2 guns.
and a good point there is that he's being labeled a terrorist for filming government activity and for what happened. We'll just leave it generic. He's being labeled a terrorist, but you know who's doggone number one on the government's terrorist list? Freaking white Christian men.
Mhm.
So if you're going to justify what happened by saying that he was a terrorist for what happened, the irony is the vast majority of the people who are really vocal on this topic, and most of them from the conservative side, are higher on this terrorist watch list than this dude was.
So, and I'd like to kind of make one of my major points, and I got like a couple points I think we should take in order, but like I want illegals deported. I voted for Trump. I regret voting for Trump. I feel like we got duped during COVID. And then I felt like the second time I voted for him that it'll be better this time. And then Epstein files not coming out, his support for Israel. I felt like an asshole for voting for him. I felt stupid. And Look, I'm not trying to call it everyone stupid, but I do feel like you should feel the same way at this point. Like, if we should really think about this, like, is this a good thing? So I want illegal support. Do not get me wrong. I don't want illegal immigration coming into our country. First thing I think we should consider is, who is the greatest threat to America? Is it Mexicans coming in? I don't think so. I would say that the rampant liberalism in our country is a way greater threat.
undoubtedly.
For instance, thinking about like Mexicans, right? How many of them are Christian? And this is a point that was brought up in a conversation with my dad and one of his friends when I was in middle school or high school. He's like, they're Catholics, like they start families, they work hard, you know? And I'm like, yeah. Now, does that mean a bunch of bad ones get in? Yes. And that's why the border should be shut down. And it should suck for everyone else so that we can maintain the integrity of our country. But are Mexicans coming in illegally, or Somalis, or anyone else, is that the greatest threat to our country? I would say no. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, the vast majority of illegal immigrants are not just coming to the US, they're being brought to the US by the CIA. It's a government created issue. And
Mhm.
whatever that they are doing to sow chaos to make it look like they're deporting a bunch of illegal immigrants, it's barely a drop in the bucket, and it likely has to do with a larger plan. So it's just like the drug trade. The CIA, this is a fact, it's not conspiracy theory. The CIA brought drugs into the US to fund Nazi terrorists in South America, the entire Banana Republic system, the regime changes running all of the governments in South America. This is open book. This is a fact. And so while they're running the DARE program here and putting your neighbor in jail for selling weed, your neighbor selling weed is competing with them trying to sell cocaine or later fentanyl or whatever else. So um, they created the issue. They're not going to fix the issue. They're going to use the issue to its fullest because they gain control through chaos. Next thing, um, it is a fact that a lot of these illegals are being not deported, but being held to ICE detainment centers in Honolulu, Hawaii. Wait, are we? Why are we deporting people to Hawaii? And then, of course, we're doing all of our Neuralink testing uh, on humans. Where? Honolulu, Hawaii. The reality of the situation is the government is likely just herding up a bunch of the sheep and cattle that they brought themselves, probably looking for the lowest IQ uh, illegal immigrants that they can find, looking for people around 60 to see what they can do with a brain chip in there. Regardless, the connection between those two things may be a conspiracy theory. The fact that they're telling you that our facilities are too full in the continental USA, so it is more affordable for them to fly these illegals to a tiny island, a tiny tropical island with the highest cost of living in the freaking country, and to house them there just and it just so happens to be right next to their government research on brain alterations and mind control. I don't know. But what I do know is that they are in the business of creating chaos and creating problems. They are not in the business of fixing problems.
Yeah, and that was my next point. And this we've already had this conversation, so I know we're gonna just lead into the next one from time to time. But like looking at this, and this is something I've talked about with like many of my friends and students who I'm talking about with this, and they're getting mad at me, but I'm like, guys, like you're saying the government is fixing a problem that the government created. That's the plan, and that's insane. Wait, like, okay, um, you will never deport the gay retardation out of Minnesota. That's why I don't go back. I grew up in Minnesota and I can't stand it. I can't stand it there. Maybe I've gotten really good at seclusion, but like if you think like if you got rid of every Somalian in Minnesota and every illegal Mexican and whatever other race or country they're from, you got rid of all of them, there would be more later because they're going to bring back more. That's how Minnesota works. Now, if we want to have a divorce in our country and be like, these states are out of the union, okay, cool. I like that plan better. But to think that sending in ICE agents into a state that does not want them there, that will import more back in, that's going to solve the problem, it will not. And it is crazy to think it will. And then the other thing I saw was um they in the government, I think the vice president and the head of ICE, they were talking about how corrupt and bad Tim Waltz is, and how like they're doing this criminal stuff and blah blah blah. Okay, arrest them.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That we're you guys, we are fighting each other right now over ICE shooting Americans in the face, not over pedophiles being arrested and removed from office. Like look in like okay, so when I see literal pedophiles, like poor people ones, right? Because it's like you got the poor people ones, then you got the government poor people ones, and they got like judges and politicians and stuff up here, and then it goes up to like the bigger places of office, and then it goes up to the real people pulling the strings, right? Um, when I see like a pedophile getting 2 years, like Camden, word of mouth. Camden, Tennessee is where special operations equipment and tactical response are located. They had a dude who had raped two teenage boys. Both of them killed themselves. Guy got 2 years in prison. I've also seen a girl who killed her rapist. I believe she got 5 years. Now, and this is where, especially when we go back to like, well, it's legal. Our laws
Right.
are stupid.
Yep.
Like, stop talking about what is legal.
So
Like,
I think one thing I really want to do really quick here to tie in here on the Christian side of things is
sure.
Romans 13 is commonly used by Christians to encourage them to submit entirely to their government authority. But Romans 13 says that the government is there to punish those who are evil and to protect those who are good. And therefore, if your government exists to protect those who are evil and to punish those who are good, it's not a Romans 13 government. You are not under you are not under moral obligation to internalize their legal system or laws, and the laws do not exist anyways. If the government wants to break the law, the government's going to break the law. A law is just a contract, and a contract is worth nothing more or less than the amount of force and violence behind it. Therefore, if you do not internalize the law and you don't get caught, the law does not exist. And if the government doesn't follow the law and you can't do anything about it, at the furthest end of the forceful spectrum, then nothing's going to happen because there is no law, because you have no force. So, morally, for Christians, you should be a Christian first and only. Your borders are fake, the governments are fake, the politics and the news are fake. Ephesians tells us that the whole thing's a freaking puppet show. You don't belong here. They do. You aren't going to stay here. You're going somewhere else. So drop all of the labels: white, black, Asian, your job, law enforcement officer. Have you ever noticed that most people who work a job that they're proud of, that becomes part of how they define themselves? You had to have experienced this in the military. Anybody in the military does. Yeah, I'm in the army. You can call me Corporal Peterson. Don't use my first name because I'm a corporal, because I'm in the army. I'm a devil dog, brother. Did you do anything honorable to earn the honor that you hope to get by associating with something that is considered to be honorable? Or are you just using that honor and putting it on like a flippin' outfit and defining yourself by it when you didn't do anything? So you see what I mean? How
Cosplay.
you define yourself is important.
Yeah, it's cosplay. That's what it is. My son, he talked about that in class, and I was like, oh yeah, that was me in the beginning. That was me. I just wanted to be a cool guy. I get it. Um, but yeah, so your note there, distraction, puppet show. What are the things we're not talking about right now that we should be talking about?
Epstein list, the new vehicle law where the government will have the ability to shut down your vehicle, or your vehicle will have the ability to shut itself down if you break traffic violations, so the police can come and get you. I mean, the new system, is it called FLIR or FLICA, whatever Palantir system it is, that is actively tracking basically everybody in every city for complete surveillance. Um,
Yeah, all the
all
surveillance systems that have just been put in that
mhm,
cops are getting access to, and they're like, I've seen videos of cops showing up to people's houses where the person was not at, walking into their houses based off of them getting access to these videos. And this is
yep,
where, like, a big part of why we're doing this video is like, if you don't think this shit will come back on you because you're not an illegal, because you're not a Democrat, dude, like they're labeling them domestic terrorists. They had me labeled a domestic terrorist just a couple years ago. I have had
people.
FBI come to my house because I have students that were at January 6th. The Oath Keepers out of Florida, look them up. Look up Mother Jones Oath Keepers. You'll see me right there. Like they just got out of prison not long ago. They were in there for 3 years, solitary confinement. This will get used against you.
Absolutely. Well, and again, because at the very core of this, what is a right and what is a privilege? Okay, so we all sit here yelling about our rights, our rights, our rights. But if you don't like some guy because the media said he's a communist and you're going to talk about the fact that he was legally carrying a firearm, but he shouldn't have been, what you're doing is you're saying actually it is a privilege. And when you're saying it actually is a privilege, that applies to you too. You know what the government likes to do with psychological warfare is they like you to be your own worst enemy, and they program you to have beliefs that are detrimental to yourself. They just make you apply it to other people, but once your mind believes he shouldn't own a gun and I don't support him owning a gun, now you don't have a right to own a gun. And again, we're talking about human rights which transcend the law. The law is gay and doesn't matter. And it doesn't even exist because if they don't like you, they're just going to murder you regardless of whether or not you're breaking any law.
Mhm. And I've spoken to a person in a place that knows stuff. Okay. But this shouldn't be shocking or surprising. They have the ability to put whatever they want to onto your electronics and make it look like it's always been there.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And like think about how easy it would be to frame people. And they try to frame people. I forget the guy's name, but look up just look into people who are like kind of pioneers of 3D printing guns, and then just put like FBI 15-year-old girl or 16-year-old girl next to it. And it shouldn't be hard for you to find the stories. But they go for that. They try to do that.
And it's getting easier though, because like
Yeah.
look at what
Look at
normal people
AI.
can do with AI,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden they could show everybody a video of me doing anything you can imagine illegal to the people that I love, and everybody would believe it's real.
Yep. Yep.
They could do it Hollywood grade, as if there was a little camera following right behind me, getting the perfect angle and the perfect shots. And people would just lap it up. They never think about what's behind the camera, and they doesn't even need to be a camera because they can dream it up and they can make it happen.
And like on that note too, I've heard a lot of stuff. I'm sure I would bet Renee Good was not good. I would bet she's a terrible mom who puts out cigarettes on her kids and all that stuff. Sure, but how do we know that? Do we know that? Like, if I were to bet money, I'd say yeah, probably. Okay.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that's another one. As far as lesbians go, I don't get along well with them. Never have. They try to get me
Right.
fired from my job and shit. Not a fan of gay marriage. Okay. Doesn't mean I'm going to treat them like shit. Doesn't mean I'm going to talk down to gays. They're sinners like me. Okay. But,
Right.
we don't actually know that anything that they're saying about these people, just like when there were reactions to Kyle Rittenhouse and crazy things were going out there. Oh, they're hunting black people now. That's what was being said.
I
And this
remember.
is just to divide us, dude. That's all it is.
So,
And
and check this out. Just
mhm,
real quick on Instagram, the hashtag Kyle Rittenhouse was blocked,
mhm.
but Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer was not. So you can get even deeper into this with social media, with tracking, with categorization, automation, and how much of a real crap storm we're actually in for through all of this. And but um, social media is made to divide, and dead internet theory is a fact. So there's a Instagram meme page, Smith and Lesson, who shares usually conservative flavored, extra spicy little meme reels and stuff like that. I was having this exact discussion with them, and they kept responding to things that I wasn't even saying. And I realized they're either a bot or they're a fed with copy and paste responses. This is not a real person.
Mhm.
This is a person in the 2A community or an entity in the 2A community that exists to sow division purely.
Yeah, I'm like Jacob and I have lots of offline conversations, and sometimes Jacob would be like, dude, that channel, no. And they'll go into why. And I'm like, you sure, man? And then later I'm like, damn, I think Jacob's right about that. So like things that you should be concerned on for like whether or not you're watching a Fed channel. Like I am 100% sure several of the big ones are at this point, and I'm
And I've lost Andrew. I don't know if it's on him or on me.
gun
Looks
tube.
like it's on him. Oh, you're back, and I'm on the
Yeah,
opposite side.
yeah, now they're getting mad at me. I didn't touch anything. They're like, we're watching you. I didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I don't know, maybe I'm more right wing now. But so like of course there's plenty of gun tube channels. But one thing that I thought about recently that I've started being like, oh, I can't wait to comment this is when you see a YouTube channel that talks a lot about ATF killing people and killing dogs, but they never mention the FBI shooting dogs or kids or gassing them and lighting them on fire, or the CIA doing a bunch of dirty stuff and running drugs into the ghettos and um, you know it's like toppling governments so that they can become our enemy or our ally later. Um, that's a Fed channel. That's what I'm convinced that's a Fed channel. They're
So
doing
on that
some
topic,
they're talking
you remember?
pro-Israel, Fed. They're
Yeah,
oh,
that's hardcore.
like one big one that I'm not gonna throw this out as 100% they're all Fed channels, but you think about the big beautiful bill, like what good things did we really get out of that versus what bad things did we get out of that? And again, this is going back to like I as far as just like talking about being a Christian before an American or a Christian before a soldier or a Marine or whatever. I am not a part of the Second Amendment community anymore. Like, I believe in the Second Amendment. I think it's good. I think we should get rid of every gun law. Of course, I think I should be able to buy grenades out of vending machines and all that. But the Second Amendment community is garbage. And we're seeing that right now, of course, with, oh, well, not that guy. He shouldn't be carrying his gun. We're seeing that right now with that. But like, I haven't done the video that I've been wanting to do. Caught up on something, whatever. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm gonna do a video on downrange drills because look at the reactions. Like, I'm gonna do a video on why they're 100% necessary. Okay, and I
Hmm.
have a good
Me
quote
too.
right here that my friend may be watching right now from a uh, police firearms instructor who's been doing it for a long time, who has taken so many classes. But I have a note that's relevant to that video and relevant to this one right here. The quote is, cops shoot the fuck out of civilians, not other cops as often. Okay. Um, so damn, I forget where I was going with that at this point. But oh yeah, so the reactions you see to the downrange drills, like when you look at when people start talking about like, oh, this guy should have his certifications revoked, he should be blocked from every range. We need to it's literally a gay cancel culture from a bunch of femboys who probably had their mom like make them wear knee pads and elbow pads and a helmet when they got on their bicycle that had training wheels on it. They probably made them wear like goggles when they were playing with sparklers. Like the Second Amendment, the gun community is garbage. You guys tear apart your own every chance you get. You're shit. And I'm
So
not
I
a
think
part of you. I'm not in the gun community. I'm
so.
not.
What we need to remember here is that the best way to destroy your opposition is to lead it.
Yeah.
So that is anytime something becomes popular, whether it's a symbol, a movement, or a community, it will be taken over by the feds. And
Mhm.
so, just a quick example of that, the etymology of the word woke. If I say that you have gone woke to 99.999% of the community, probably everybody, the first thing that they think is I'm talking about liberal, right?
Mhm.
Do you remember where that term comes from?
I'm assuming it's the Matrix waking up, but no, I'm not sure
Well,
where
the
you're going.
term woke itself comes from the Black Hebrew movement. About 10, 15 years ago, there's a Black Hebrew movement. You've heard of the repercussions of this movement with Black people seeing their kangs and shit,
Mhm.
tangs and quains. Okay. But originally, it gained incredible momentum. And one of the main messages through their podcasts and through their discussions was the fact that the U.S. government was using and abusing the Black American community, and it was time for Black Americans to return to morality, to return to family values, to return to Christianity. And the Democrat Party was enslaving them today, and all of their beliefs and their culture was slavery on a large scale. It became dangerous to the system. And with only a few years, what they told each other was they needed to get woke, to open their eyes and see how Lyndon B. Johnson had used them, how the Democrat Party had used them, how they needed to go get guns, how they needed to go get training, how they needed to raise their doggone kids and marry their women. All right. And it was incredibly dangerous to the machine. I knew some of these people, and I don't agree with them at all theologically, and it's only gone downhill from where it was then because the feds took it over. So anything like the 2A community, they'll use a couple of pages like Smith and Lesson that I mentioned, or other meme pages. uh, they will have excellent content. They will get massive reach through social media. They will post incredibly well made memes that are hilarious, that people like me even will follow them and be like, hey, this is good.
Mhm.
Um, they are feds, and as has always been the case, they will use mockery or comedy to shape and guide cultures and communities. And the 2A community no longer supports the Second Amendment. The difference between being pro gun and pro 2A is pro gun can mean anything. You can be pro owning a pistol with under 10 rounds capacity and carrying it if you have a license and you've gone through testing and a mental examination and you used to be law enforcement, and I'm pro gun, really. Pro 2A is full stop. All gun laws are infringements.
Mhm.
All of them. That's pro 2A. Anything below that is anti 2A. So you have the 2A community. The toxic part of that term is community, because the community is being ran and guided by feds, and the community is filled with people who will never do anything but work a 9 to 5 job at least 40 hours a week. So will their wife. They will send their children to be raised by their government. And their idea of a good time is putting toxins into their brain to make them think that they are enjoying themselves and buying stuff and consuming stuff. So they'll never take these guns out and use them unless they put on a whole kit for some pictures for the gram. Because to them, their gear, their night vision, their guns, their ammo, all of it is a status symbol.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say it all
And
the
so they
time.
think they're part of the community.
I say it all the time is more about like the stuff you own and the associations you have than the actual skills behind it and the purpose behind it. And even like when some people start going towards getting the skills, it's more of a vanity check for themselves.
Absolutely.
And it's not,
Absolutely.
and this is something we'll come back to later. It's like shoot gun good. Look how good I am. Look at my build drill time. Doesn't carry his fucking gun.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? What's the point of that? Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
miss the
good.
mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if your mindset up here is messed up, your tactics, your skills, and your gear is all crap because the mindset is wrong.
Yep. And until you really have your mindset really there, you'll never understand how much those things interact with each other either.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Now let's go back to like the facts of the matter with the shooting. So let's start with Renee Good. Um, Big thing. So everyone's trying to do was they're trying to establish intent. on what she was doing. She was trying to kill him with her car. That's what people said. How do you know that? Okay. Now, again, I'm not an ICE officer. I'm not a cop. Never wanted to be a cop. Well, I kind of did, but then BLM started. I went, no, and I'm glad I didn't. I have cop friends. Also, a lot of cops I do not like. I have met some seriously fucking dirty cops. I've met cops that would gladly pull your wife over and make her suck his dick to get out of going to jail. That have gotten away with murder. Okay. That's a reality. In any institution, there are going to be people like that. Two Marines I was in the same platoon as them at different times, are in prison for rape right now. Okay. There are fucking evil monsters out there. And this is where giving too much authority to these people is the wrong thing. I will also say that sometimes getting the benefit of the doubt to these people is the wrong thing. Not every time. And I don't want to put intent on anyone who I'm not or who I don't know. But let's go back to this. So she was trying to kill him with her car. When he first walked in front of the car, why didn't she try to kill him then? Why did she talk to him in a calm manner? Then when he went back in front of the car, why did she not try to kill him right then? So was she trying to kill him, or was she freaked out that a dude wearing a plate carrier came up screaming at her, trying
trying to
to
rip her
pull her
door
out?
open.
Yeah, trying to
Yeah, yeah.
rip her door open and pull her out of the car.
So
Because
here's the important point here is everybody sits here and quarterbacks this crap, but I don't care how hard you are, you will not react in this kind of a situation the way that you think. You are
Mhm.
very unlikely, especially if you don't train for this specific situation. So, some dude comes up with a gun, and probably you could make a case at this point that they have the intent to kill you and goes to rip your door open. And we're talking about a non combat lesbo homo woman, and she freaks out and slams the gas pedal. That is not an unexpected reaction at all. It's she freaked out and she ran. That is about as textbook standard as it can get.
Mhm. And this is something. So I'm just gonna put this point out there, and we'll keep hitting on it later and multiple times. Like training. So, do you guys think that ICE has good training? I mean, do you think regular police do? Do you think detention officers do? Do you think military does? Do you think SF does? I'm not here to like try to break down any specific organization 100%, but I can promise you, like in every facet, it is not as good as you think.
But here's
Um,
one thing.
and the more
Um,
time you spend around them, the more you will see that. Let me hit this point first.
Absolutely hit it.
So something that training with Sonny, a really big thing I learned. He talked about a time when there was a bad shoot that happened, and basically the thing that happened, guys came in screaming, like "Get the fuck on the ground, why?" And like being really intense. And then a dude made a move that they lit him up for. Turned out that guy did not need to get shot. It was a bad shoot. And they were talking about this with Sonny. And Sonny's like, well, why were you guys screaming and being so aggressive with them? And they're like, well, so that he would listen. So he know that we were in charge. He's like, you guys are giant dudes wearing plate carriers, camo helmets, and pointing rifles at him. Try this. Like like you are in charge, like you are the bigger one there. It's kind of like, when you see one dude screaming and trying to play super tough, versus the dude who's calm.
Mhm.
Like I saw a video of The guy being like, or what? This is right when the camera turns on. He's like, or what? He's like, well, I'm gonna beat the fucking shit out of you, motherfucker. And he goes, oh, okay, I want this. Sets his card down nicely. And the guy's like, what? What? It's like, who's really in charge? But also, like, you're talking about a woman, okay? And I'm not saying women can't be evil and women never need to get screamed at. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, like, my wife, if I say something slightly with the wrong tone towards her, she thinks I hate her. Like, it breaks them down very quickly. They do not handle that well. So, did she need to get screamed at and you coming up and ripping the door open right in that moment? And also, if that were like your kid, say, you did a good job sending your kid to gay government prison every day for 12 years, and now they've been converted. That's school, by the way. Now they've been converted into being a liberal, and they happen to be there. That's your kid. That's your daughter in that car, that in this scenario. How do you think she's going to handle that? If I get angry, fucking everyone's scared. And it doesn't have to be me really angry. It's me like, where the fuck is my charger? If I say that, dude, it's a thing I have done a lot of work on to get better at. But now thinking about in that situation, like this is a life or death situation when it's any sort of authority who carries guns that could possibly arrest people that have the authority to shoot people coming and interacting with the public. Do you really think that's how it should go down? That they should come up screaming and trying to rip them out of their car? Or could you make it more matter of fact? Maybe let them think and go like, all right, you know, all right, this probably isn't going to go well for me. And here's the other thing. They have her information. I watched, there's a show on my county, Marion County, Chopper Cops, and they talked about how they chased someone into oncoming traffic on 75, a major highway. So going into oncoming traffic, and they were getting up to 100 miles an hour because they didn't pull over when they turned their lights on. That's retarded. The dude ended up getting like 2 years, and he had like no real bad things he was doing. He wasn't a murderer. He wasn't a rapist. I think he had some weed on him. And yeah, he was probably breaking into cars. But here's the thing, they have her information. Go knock on her door later. Why are we going to go through this right here, right now?
Just like Waco.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
To
And
show
so,
of force.
and here's the other thing. Who the fuck stands in front of a car, especially when there's a woman driving it? For real. No, for
They're
real.
trained. They're trained to do it. It's part of their training.
Yeah, and I get that where they're like, and okay, and here's the other thing. I'm not a cop. I get it. I get it. I'm not a cop. Okay. I'm just looking at this as logically as I can. Okay. Where's she gonna go to escape? Probably driving the car forward. Probably not in reverse. For sure, not side to side. Okay. For sure. Probably
Right.
forward because that's the way, right? And by the way, she had
Mhm.
just waved a car past. She wasn't like being crazy and violent. And I'm just talking in this moment because this is people will start saying what the story was before the cameras were rolling and all that. Okay. Hey, that may all be true, even. Okay. I also can't confirm a lot of the things that people have said. And I've heard some wild shit that I'm like, definitely found out to not be true. But in this moment, why would you stand in front of the car? Okay. Now, other thing that happened in that moment. Sorry, Jacob. I'm just like rolling with it. I'll let you get back in here in a sec. Um, One thing on the training note. Okay. The dude who ended up shooting her that was standing in front of the car, right? When you watch that video, you will see him go for his gun before moving his feet. He doesn't want to get hit by a car, right? One step.
Mhm.
One step would have kept him from ever having contact with that car.
Mhm.
Those of you who have trained with me in the past year, if I taught you draw stroke with movement, which we generally don't really do in pistol cheat codes, it's a shooting class more than anything. But if you took Proving Grounds pistol with me, or now it's used to be called Carry Pistol One, now it is called Pistol Applications. The movement there that I actually learned from Sonny, um, that if you had practiced that, it's like when people say like, "Oh, you move your feet and your hands simultaneously." That's not going to happen. I promise you, because I've seen it with hundreds of people. They go for the gun first, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
lesson for everyone out there: if you practice moving on the draw, like you should, move your feet first, because you will
Mhm.
not move them simultaneously. And
Mhm.
something I'd like to research further. I'm not going to confirm it 100%, but I was watching a dude talk about how to work a sword. He said one big thing is that your hands can do like two movements for every one step your feet can do. So your hands actually end up moving faster than your feet, anyways. So you should probably start moving your feet now. But if that
Mhm.
dude had taken one step or not positioned himself there, he would have not gotten hit. The other thing is like, I get it. Getting hit by a car sucks. And I get it. If you're dragged by a car, then you probably don't want to get dragged by a car again. I get that. I get that. I've heard that. And I agree. However, did he really sustain such a bad injury that he needed to kill her right there? Okay.
Right.
And instead of establishing this intent behind her of, oh, she was trying to kill him, it was, V8 beats 45 every time. Dude, maybe she's a scared girl who's getting her lesbian wife saying shit while the cop is saying shit and trying to rip her out, and she just wants to drive out. And maybe she was like, I'm not gonna hit him that bad. Or maybe she was like, I'm gonna kill him. I don't think that was the case. I don't think she was going fast enough to do something really, really bad. And again, I'm not trying to like Monday morning quarterback this thing, but one one huge problem with the 2A community, with conservatives right now that we're seeing, they're way too focused on shooting.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the moral part of this, instead of being like what justifies her getting shot, hey, maybe we think about how can we not end up shooting women in the fucking head.
Yeah.
It's not a thing we should be proud of. It's not.
Lon Horiuchi.
Yeah. Jacob,
Okay, so
I'll probably think of some more shit I want to say on that subject later, but please take it.
a few things. For one, in any government institution, we'll talk about military, but we can go all the way back to high school. The people who excel and learn are the people who are internally motivated, because you don't have to learn jack crap to have almost any job. So you can go to a really a standard line infantry unit, and there are going to be one or two dudes in there that are freaking absolute beasts. And guess what? They're not going to stay in a line unit. They are going to go SOCOM. They're going to go to the Q course. They're going to go become recon. They're going to do some cool stuff. But they're high speed where they're at right now. These guys going into special forces were now up a level, because especially when it comes to the infantry, pogues can kind of get in more easily. But when it comes to the infantry, someone decided, I don't want to be regular infantry anymore. I'm going to do more work, learn more, invest more, go up to the next step. They've already shown that. But even within the special forces community, you have people who stand out, who are really talented people, but they're really talented not because of their job. The certifications mean nothing. There you go. The certifications mean nothing. The guys who are really talented are really, really talented because they're internally motivated. Um, Next thing, with moving your doggone feet, and with people being downrange, and with the NRA being a psyop, How many videos have you seen of tactical boys showing off their tactical shooting in their little tactical outfits? And they're doing, say, a Mozambique drill, and they're like, ping, 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 ping. And then they drop their rifle and they pull out their pistol and then they start shooting with their pistol. And they're doing mag changes on a square range while standing in the open. That probably is 99.9% of all of the shooting and instruction that you will see online. Okay. In the military, what's the last freaking thing you want to do in a firefight ever? Stand in the open. Mag change and stand in the open. So, okay, so infantry guy, okay. I'm in an open desert, no cover anywhere, and I hear a gunshot. First thing I'm going to do, especially if I can locate that gunshot instantly, I'm going to get my face on the ground. Okay, and that's my cover. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to communicate where the shot came from. But number one, in a position with absolutely no cover, you get down and you'll figure it out from there. Even in a position with cover, hitting the dirt is a pretty good idea. But when we have more cover and more of a temperate climate, we are immediately running and diving to cover first, and then we're communicating always. There is never a point in the military where you're going to be like Johnny Bravo with your gun and be like, I'm being shot at, guys. He's over there. Let's return fire. Reloading, and you're just standing there in the open out of cover. It doesn't happen. Training, ICE agents, massive influx in people hired into ICE in 2025. Ties in ICE training to Israeli training in Israeli training centers and IDF. We did not create a truly high-speed fighting force in the last year. So onto the guy getting in front of the vehicle, that is a psychological tactic. Because people don't want to kill someone, they are more likely to stop, okay? But let's talk about reality versus consequences, okay? So if I walk out on the freeway in the middle of a busy intersection and I'm like, the pedestrian has the right of way, and I get smoked, okay, might my family win a lawsuit and get a whole bunch of money? Maybe, because I had the right of way. But who actually had the right of way? The freaking vehicle, because if I get hit, I'm going to be turned into pink mist. So in reality, the vehicle has the right of way, right? And so to tie this into Mr. Ice Agent, I once met General Patton's chaplain. Okay, and the guy had like 9 Purple Hearts, and I talked to him, and I was like, I'm a kid. I'm like, man, that's a lot of Purple Hearts. He's like, oh, it's only 1 Purple Heart. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, the rest of them are slow learners awards. They're not Purple Hearts. So, buddy, if you've already been slapped by a car and drug, and you get slapped by a second car, it's probably because you're a freaking moron. And if you don't want to get hit by a car again, your first reaction should be movement. Because she wasn't even turned into him. If she had turned into him, it would have been game over. She's turned away from him on an escape vector. But regardless of that fact, do you want to shoot and kill her, or do you want to not get hit by a car again? Because I'll tell you personally, I had a horse charging at me working on a ranch one time, and I got the hell out of its way. And the guy I was working with is like, why the hell did you do that? You should have stood there and stopped that horse. No, I'm getting paid $10 an hour. I'm not standing in front of a 1,200-pound psycho beast running at full speed. Not doing it. This isn't Hollywood. I'm not jumping and grabbing its neck and getting on. No, I'm getting out of the way.
I'm
$10
def
an hour ain't worth it.
I'm definitely gonna start calling animals I don't like Psycho Beast.
Yeah. So,
Now,
so again,
but
slow
I
learners a word.
well, note on this too is it's like it's not again. We're not trying to Monday morning quarterback this, and we're not trying to directly be like this ICE agent's a piece of shit. I blame the institution. I blame the gun
Yeah, yeah,
community as
absolutely.
a whole because this is the way. This is like you said. This the shit you see on Instagram is the shit that's popular in classes. It's just shoot gun good, shoot gun fast, and then fucking let's go jerk off on Instagram about it. Right?
Hmm.
Um, like it's garbage. It is, and so it's like don't hear us saying trying to be like this is how you're supposed to do police work there. I agree too that when you position yourself in front of the car, I do believe too that that is them trying to be like, fucking try me. You know, what are you gonna do? You gonna kill me? You know? And I've heard too that oh, that's a thing that they're trained to do. Well, I did see some reports of like that was happening so often in the past that like ICE was getting in trouble for it because of the position from a car. And then when the car would start driving, then they would shoot the person. They're like, don't do that. Okay. I don't know if that's, true or not. If that's really like the whole thing, go look for yourself. Um, but I would say, yeah, he was trying to intimidate her. That's what I believe, although I'm not him. Um, And I would say this is an institution problem, a gun community
Hmm.
problem more than anything. Not just that guy, right? Like as a whole. And so with like what are they actually doing to train these guys? Where are they pulling them from? Can anyone definitively answer that? And I can't. And here's one thing I'll say is like if me as a civilian, if I shoot a bad guy at the gas station, I'm 100% good, and there's a clean shoot, I still don't want to be there when the cops show up. I do
Hmm.
not like that idea. I would rather leave, go somewhere where I don't have to shoot people anymore, be somewhere where cops aren't coming hearing that a guy shot another guy, getting like tons of 911 calls in this moment that I have zero control over. I would rather leave, right?
Hmm.
Um, but also, I will say, I do not want to have any interactions with law enforcement. I don't like, I do my best not to speed, I'm more of a middle lane guy, like with plenty of space between me and the next car. Um, I just don't want to have any interactions, and just watching that video from Jacksonville where they disarm a dude who's legally carrying his gun and they fucking shoot him while they're doing it. And then they suck at applying tourniquets. That's that average person that will probably be there. The person
Hmm.
trying to rip her out of the car is probably the one that you'll have to interact with.
Hmm.
So it's like, do you trust that for yourself to have that interaction with that person? And it's really like, just comply, do what they say. Okay. Okay. Like, first off, you don't know that you're not going to make a wrong movement that's going to set this dude off, that's going to freak him out. Like, hey, last time when I got a subpoena for my Oath Keeper students, when I got a subpoena delivered to my house, when I walked outside, that cop was fucking shaking.
And
Okay.
really quick, you were
And
talking about
and
being quiet
I
or being
walked out
loud,
very, very, very
right?
calmly. He was
The
fucking shaking.
the more scared someone is, the more dangerous they are.
Yep.
The more unpredictable they are. So again, you were talking about earlier the big old guys with a gun and body armor yelling at everybody. They're doing that because they're scared. They don't need to do that. And so the guy who's calm and has his stuff together is a lot more likely to act predictably than the guy who's sweating and shaking uh, with his finger twitching. All right. Um, yeah, so a scared cop is a dangerous cop.
Mhm. So another note on that too, on that shooting, and I don't think I have any more notes after this, but like there was a dude who was there after that she crashed her car, was like, I'm a physician, let me help. Right across the street from her. They did not let him help. Okay. Like if there is not someone who is able to do medical right in this moment from your department, let that fucking guy there do it. If no one's rendering aid, let that guy do it. That would have been the right thing to do. Okay. They did not do that. So again, think about if it was you or your kid or your wife, would you find that acceptable?
So, and again, we're seeing U.S. citizens getting smoked, and we're talking about conservative responses. How many pedophiles are we seeing getting smoked? How many murderers? How many rapists? How, we're acting like how many people has ICE actually detained? Um, at the end of the day, if you I okay, I saw someone say something earlier, and I might kind of end this topic with this. Maybe it's the last thing I really need to say. He said, if you're carrying a firearm at a protest and you do anything to interfere with law enforcement, you're probably borderline committing a felony. And so when we are at a point where we are supporting feds murdering US citizens because they probably maybe almost could have been committing a felony, we are in a really bad spot. Because probably, maybe, almost should not be part of our language when it comes to somebody getting smoked. Hmm.
Now, and this is where it's like, what are they really doing that's interfering? Videotaping law enforcement? Hey, they videotape us.
Yeah.
Like, try going to the grocery store without being caught on camera.
Hmm.
I have zero problem with people videoing everything law enforcement does. And I believe that anytime a cop or anyone government related tries to take a camera out of someone's hands or say turn that off, they should lose their position.
Hmm.
There should be no problem with them being on film.
Hmm.
It should support what you're doing, if anything.
Hmm.
It's something that Yeager talked about. He said that when body cams first came around, there was a bunch of cops who were against it, and he was like, what are you talking about? This will back me up in court. Like, if I'm doing the right thing, this will back me up. This is a good thing. There should be no problem with it. Okay. So now, is yelling and being like, get the fuck off them, what are you doing? Is that interfering? I think you should be able to keep her cool during that, in my opinion. I think you should be like, oh, yeah, there's a person yelling over there. Like, what doesn't matter. Okay. You could argue it does, but I would say if we have people operating at a professional level, it should not bother them. Um, Now, here's the other thing. I get it. If we're gonna get rid of the illegals in this country, it's a dirty job. Bad things will happen. The problem I have is with people justifying the bad things.
Hmm.
Because when bad things happen, you say it was a good thing. That's horrible. Or when a
Yeah.
bad thing happens, a bad thing, a morally bad thing happens, an objectively bad thing. and we say it's legal, then why are we following this? Like,
Yeah, and the government can, if they actually wanted to, grab all of these people without a riot, and the government can arrest the criminals who are running all of this and the politicians, and they could put the bad guys away, but they're not going to. Um, it's it's a show. Whatever whatever we think is actually going on, the truth is worse. That's just a fact. Um, so,
and
but really quick, as
yeah,
a U.S. soldier in combat, if I had smoked another country's citizens on purpose in these situations that were even questionable, so I'm not even going to say the officers had intent or anything else, but if I did the same thing to another country's citizens, I would be in Leavenworth right now.
hmm
I would be freaking breaking rock 10 or 12 hours a day, minimal rations, sleeping on concrete as a soldier smoking somebody else's citizens. And that was made very, very clear often. So, where are the standards for how we treat our own citizens whose rights are supposed to be protected by the government that is represented by the officers in these cases?
I had two moments in my life where I was, rifle on fire, aimed in at a person, and applying pressure where I stopped myself. You could argue there were lower pressure situations than what these ICE officers are in, sure. But I am so glad I didn't shoot, and I didn't think about ways that I could justify myself shooting after. One of them was a kid too. Just pops up and started doing this just far enough away where my blind ass couldn't tell if he had anything in his hands or not. Eh, Stopped. Okay. I am so glad I did not shoot that kid. Should he have been there? No. Should he have been doing that? No. I'm so glad. I'm so thankful by the grace of God I did not shoot that kid. I maybe
uh,
I would have gone away with it too. Who knows? I don't think I would have.
maybe, maybe you would,
And
maybe you wouldn't. Yeah.
so, and that's the other thing when we're glorifying it, when Americans are getting shot, that's wrong. And the other thing we think about too, when we look at these situations, change it from it being law enforcement doing that to just being civilians doing that.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you do if someone started circling your car with a camera? Like, okay, all right. Again, it was ICE agents, not civilians, but think about it from that perspective. What would you do? Because these people are just people too.
Well,
And
they're
would you?
not supposed to be a protected upper class. They're supposed to be citizens doing a job. Law
Mhm.
enforcement is not supposed to be that. They are supposed to be treated as civilians.
Now, think about like when she started driving, say it was a dude trying to record a car accident, and then another dude came up and just didn't try to rip her out of her car, but just started yelling at her. Okay. And she was just tried to drive, she drove and
Mhm.
hit that dude exactly the same way he did. Would that
Mhm.
guy, if he was a civilian, be justified in shooting her in the head? I
There's
don't
no
think so.
freaking way. And you would have to prove intent. I was involved in a shooting about 3 months ago,
Mhm.
and almost smoked a guy. Talked to the police, and for this guy to get in trouble, he's like, "We'd have to prove intent." Just happened with my kids. Okay,
Mhm.
but um, now one thing I want to mention also is there are public situations where shootings have happened with law enforcement that people are still very mad about, that I believe were completely justified. So before someone thinks that I am anti cop smoking somebody, I absolutely am not. And there was a popular shooting incident recently. A guy is drawn down on a dude in a hallway who just got out of the room. Keep your hands on your over your head. Keep your hands over your head. Keep your hands over your head. And the guy reaches down. They say probably to pull his pants up. If you
Mhm.
don't want to get freaking shot while someone's pointing a gun at you and they tell you keep your hands above your head and you reach for your belt line, you're gonna get freaking shot. Whether it's right or wrong, whether you had anything or didn't, that officer is going to think he's reaching for his belt line, he's got to get smoked. So there are criteria. There was another incident with a lady trying to hit law enforcement a ways back, and she backs her vehicle up. She goes for law enforcement. She misses. She backs her vehicle up. She goes for law enforcement again. She misses. She backs her vehicle up. It's what's going on there. You're watching from a top view. It's very clear that this is not, I would say, either of us being universally against um, freaking smoking somebody, regardless.
Yeah.
But these instances are at the very least concerning. And at the end of the day, as a civilian, if I had shot her, I would be in prison right now. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And with Alex Pretty, you know, I we couldn't even be in that position as a civilian. But if we were, there are states where if that happened in your own home and he was a robber, you could be in prison right now.
Mhm.
So um, it's the sad thing, as you said, the government's doing what the government does. It's the institution. This shouldn't be surprising. This is just government being government. What's surprising is the so-called Second Amendment community, the so-called conservatives. They're using the exact same arguments that the liberals used against Rittenhouse. They are denying their own Second Amendment God-given inalienable rights because somebody said that such and such was a communist, and they are proving just how shallow their own beliefs really are. Because when the rubber hits the road, what people say doesn't freaking matter. Because chances are, if they're going to say the opposite thing a couple years down the road, because the media has spun it in a little bit different way, it doesn't matter. All that matters to them is the spin and whether my team wins or my team's in the lead. It's worthless. It's nothing.
Mhm. Now, on Alex Pretty, again, people establish intent, say the things he does, the things he's doing. I don't know. I've seen a picture showing him as a tranny. Could be true. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Who knows? Maybe he was in Antifa. I don't know. But objectively look at the situation. Okay. And the whole like they shouldn't be there. I know. I agree. Okay. I will also say though, they said that about Kyle Rittenhouse that he shouldn't be there. And then they say, well, Alex Pretty had this intent. He was there to do these things. I don't know, dude. If we see that, okay. But let's look at the situation. Because if he was there to do these things, like say he showed up being like, I am going to shoot every cop and I'm going to steal their guns, or every ICE agent, I'm going to steal their guns and I'm going to kill more of them. Let's say that's his plan. Okay. Okay. But what did he do actually there? When he was there, what actually happened? First off, when people say like he's interfering or he's resisting, dude, I saw him go like, "What are you doing?" when a very aggressive ICE agent shoved the woman and she fell down. And then that very aggressive ICE agent started spraying him in the face with pepper spray immediately.
A lot.
A lot. And I saw him just put up his arm trying to block it. Then I saw him try to help a woman up. And then they try to take him down. Okay. What bad thing has he done so far?
Right.
I don't want to hear about legal with our gay satanic legal system. What bad thing has he done? Okay.
Oh, I've heard people say he didn't submit, he didn't go to his stomach. Once again, we're talking about an untrained nurse who just got the shit pepper sprayed out of him. He's got like 5 or 6 dudes beating the shit out of him, and he's on his hands and his knees. Well, guess what happens when you get knocked out? A lot of times you can go to your hands and your knees. You lose blood pressure to your head, you can go to your hands and your knees. I've gone to my hands and my knees. Natural defense to not go all the way to the ground, but he's not actively, I didn't see for a second him trying to get up, strike out, and we certainly did not see him go for his gun. Now, people are saying the law enforcement officers said gun. When the law enforcement officers said gun, all bets are off. Okay, I've done this. I've done law enforcement stuff. You yell out gun when you see a gun. That does not mean that they've pulled their gun out. That does not mean that they're pointing their gun at you. That does not mean that they're getting ready to shoot them and you immediately shoot them. It is not immediate shoot response. Now, if he's actively pulling a gun out, you yell gun and you look, you see the gun, yeah, active response. But the fact that they said gun is not an immediate kill response. And if it was, they waited until Mr. Gray officer pulled the gun off of him and had turned around before they smoked him. Just back of the head, right in the back, execution style, pop, 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 after they pull the gun out. Nope. Again, we're not supposed to be quarterbacking, but I mean, I don't understand.
I would want to ask one of my LE friends what they think, because I've heard the argument that it's like it's a thing where if someone says gun, then you're able to trust what your fellow officer said, and that allows you to shoot the guy basically. So maybe, but I'm also kind of like, if that's the case, I'm not a cop. If that's the case, I get that. But I totally agree with I like he's resisting. What does that mean? Because also, like, okay, like you have 5 dudes on him, right? Okay, it's a dog pile, right? So um how do you know like what's really happening there? Is he maybe just trying not to get shoved in this way or that way too much? Is he just trying not to have his face smashed into the ground? Like look at my Instagram. Look at all the reels I show of cops beating the shit out of people. It's not because I hate cops. Okay. I'm trying to show you that, like, hey, this sucks. Okay. A part of it is, don't put yourself in a position where this will happen to you. A part of it is don't talk to the police. Part of it is, hey, don't resist, because this will be the results. Mostly I just want to show you that to show you the reality. So you take violence seriously. That's a big
Yeah,
part of it.
absolutely.
And
And
to
we have
hold
precedent because of that.
yeah, and to hold also dirty cops like responsible
Absolutely.
because not many people in the two-way like to do that. Um, now,
By design,
when
because
we
2A is anti-cop, but continue.
yeah, now within this too, I think it's good to mention like when I teach use of force, I'm not going to go through the full thing I go through, but there's basically three sides to it that I teach: the legal, the tactical, and the moral. Legal is what you are allowed to do. Tactical is what should you do, and moral is what can you live with, right? The overarching thing to it is to save a human life, right? Um, so I just want to kind of like mention that. I'm sure I'm going to come back to it. Uh, but there's more to it than just like he shouldn't be here. There's more to it than he's allowed to film. There's more to it than you know. It's okay. Or that he shouldn't have simply shouldn't have shot him. Because here's the other thing: like we do not know what they were seeing. Okay, but this is also where it's like, just like with Renee, I think it's very disorganized, and that's a big part of the problem. Like, what SOPs do you think, standard operating procedures, do you think ICE has as far as like handling these people? Or are they just yelling back up, and throwing people on the ground and macing them? Right. Like the guy who was filming Renee, did he have any clue that the other guy was about to get out and try to rip her out of the car? Okay. The guy who took the gun, did he do anything to tell the other guys, I took a gun? Right. Um, Now, him on the ground, was he resisting? Was he really? Because we can't feel that. We don't know what it was like to have our hands on him. Okay. We don't know what it was like to be him either. Okay. One thing one of my buddies who's a cop out in California has talked about is like there's kind of this like moment when he puts hands on someone where if they jerk back, he's like, okay, it's on. I'm fighting. But if he's like, okay, go ahead, then he's like, okay, now this is going to be a cool interaction. Right. There is that moment, but also like, what do you do if something startles you, or if someone is like it, if someone starts pulling you, what is your natural reaction to do? It's probably to pull against it, right? So this is also where it's like, is he really fighting? Is he really resisting? Or is it he's just having a
Just protecting
natural
himself.
reaction, right? And
Yeah,
just like you said earlier, we can say this is what you're supposed to do when you interact with law enforcement. Like, have you gotten slammed to the ground after getting maced, thinking you're doing no wrong, and then having four dudes on top of you, right? Now, why did they yell gun? There's there's conspiracy theories around this. I'm going to hold off on believing any of them, and I am one conspiracy believing motherfucker. Okay, believe me. But things I think could have possibly happened. Maybe he put his hand on one of the officer's guns. Maybe the dude who was behind him and drew his gun, was that necessary? Possibly. Uh, Maybe he saw an empty holster and was like, "Oh shit, that guy has a gun in his hand." I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Maybe someone saw a magazine, his spare mag. I don't know. I have no idea where it was being carried. There's any number of reasons why, but did he need to get shot in that moment? Hey, maybe we might find that out. We might be like, "Oh yeah, that was a clean shoot." From what I see, it was not a clean shoot. And again, we don't have all the facts to this. So when we start trying to throw intent and we're throwing labels on him that he's a communist pedophile and all this, we don't know that. And they will label you too.
yeah,
As soon
absolutely.
as soon as they kill you, they're going to try to justify it. so that they
Mhm.
don't look bad. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's the problem is we can't just immediately justify killing Americans. Again, what is the point of this?
Mhm.
If you get rid of
That's the one.
every illegal immigrant in America, does that fix America? No.
So, and to go back to frickin' nope, I've lost it. It's gone.
Well, this was good.
Daggone it.
I think this was
Yep.
good. I think the things I needed to say, I said. Um, I'm kind of glad we took it on this format too, because last thing that I really want is someone just like jumping in to see like what are they going to say about this shooting, and I think we took in better directions. I would like if you got time to hang out, I'd like to hit some of the comments. It's been an hour and 35, so I'm probably not going to read every comment. I will
Yeah,
be a
sure.
lot more lighthearted in this moment. Everyone who watched, thank you for watching. Um, if you're a dickhead in the comments, I might not even address it. I'm probably gonna skip a lot of them anyways. Okay. I'm just gonna throw the ones on the screen that I want to throw on the screen. Um, for everyone who said, "Who is this?" I'm gonna give you a "Who is this?" right back right now. So I want to move fast. If you carry it and then put it. Yep. So there's truth to this. If you carry and then put yourself into intense conflicts with cops, you probably gonna get done up. Hey, that's that. I think there's a lot of truth to it. Like I said, even a
That's
dude
true.
who got pulled over for whatever reason in Jacksonville, and then as they're taking the gun off him that he's legally carrying, they shoot him with it because they're incompetent. You could,
It's like walking out in the street and getting hit.
yeah,
Who's really
yeah. And I have met so many anti-gun cops. I've met some awesome pro-gun cops too. You know, pro 2A guys who are like, yeah, if they make us go door to door, I'm not doing it, But I've also met so many anti-gun cops. Here's a fun thing to do. Whatever state you live in, depending on your laws, you can rephrase this question. But when I first moved to Florida, I asked 5 different cops if I have a concealed carry permit, am I legally allowed to have a loaded rifle in a case in my vehicle? 3 of them said, I don't know. One of them said, why would you need that? And then the last one said, I wouldn't, because if a cop pulled you over, then blah, 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 blah. So, so it's a fucking yes or no question. I didn't get a yes or no, did I? I love telling that story. All right, you cannot say what someone else's intentions are, period, because you do not know unless you were included in the planning process. Yeah, and even that, you don't even know unless you're them. It's a part of like the whole psyop thing we were talking about with like the people really pulling the strings.
Mhm.
Clapping hands, thank you. Okay. The government is very efficient and effective at drawing our attention away from things they don't want as the topic of news, even if it means sacrificing citizens. Yeah. Yeah. We're just fucking pawns to them. It's a legal system, not a justice system. Yes. And this is something that's very important to remember. And I hope I didn't misuse the term justice system. I'm very active at trying not to, but like the language we use is very important, right? So it's just like I
Mhm.
made the video about law-abiding citizen and why that's retarded. Like
Just pisses
they're
me off.
disarming law-abiding citizens. Don't ever be proud of that. Like they're Jacob, can you think of any laws we should be proud of following?
Not
It's like,
diddling kids.
yeah, it's like, yeah, of course, but it's like if it's in the Bible, like we don't need we don't need the government telling us it. Okay. Any update on Heavyset Tactical? I'm not sure who that is. Jacob, do you know?
Heavy
Ray,
set
he
tacticals on there?
said any update on Heavyset Tactical? I'm
Oh, no.
not familiar.
No, not him. No.
Radio Made Easy, Evan, what's up? Guys, you need fucking radios. Go to radiomadeeasy.com, take his class. It is absolutely stupid, retarded behavior to not own radios or know how to use them.
Mhm.
Oh, I shoot my gun so good. No, I don't own medical or carry medical. I am no medical EDC guy. All right. Tom Holyby, Ashgar Defense. Check his channel out. Remember when the war on drugs was a thing? Only for almost all drugs to be made legal to possess and use. Yeah. Yeah. What a joke. All right, guys. If you want to talk, I'm going to scroll past everything to the bottom. I don't want to sit here all day reading comments. So if you got anything that you said earlier that's important, you want it read, comment it now. We have families that we want to get back to
Yes, indeed.
and stop talking about ICE when we should be talking about way more important things.
Right.
All right. Again, oh, it's again, though, it's like laying on the train tracks saying you wanted to look at the stars. Yep. He was way in the wrong place, wrong time, wrong everything. I agree. But
That doesn't justify anything.
yeah, it doesn't justify it. And um honestly, it's kind of like Kyle Rittenhouse choosing to go out there with a rifle and being like, I'm not gonna let people shoot other people. Like, I'm not gonna let like bad things happen. I agree with that. One thing that we didn't say that we should have said that we did talk about before the live stream, or maybe I did mention this, but if you look at like what is going on right now with ICE and how everyone is getting divided again about this and how much attention it is bringing and how it is making the other side, the liberals, scared. The ICE for Republicans is just like a couple years ago, BLM and Antifa were for Democrats. Okay.
Mhm.
It's the same thing, right? And this is something, one of the reasons why I don't like Republicans is that they like they don't have as much balls as the left. Like the left does so much crazy shit, but Republicans, and this is why I also don't like the 2A community, is they look at like their guns as toys more than anything, or as a force field. Like, no, you don't get it. I got this AR-15. Fucking nothing bad can happen to me.
It's not talisman, safety talisman. James always talked about that.
Yeah. And it's like someone who wants to can take everything from you in a second. That's why you need to take violence seriously. It's not about the guns. And this is where I want to research the big, beautiful bill. And anyone can email me info@combatartraining.com or text the business line. If you got like a list of like horrible things that are in the big, beautiful bill, I'd like to see it because they rallied support around that. And we did not get everything that we thought we would get out of the big, beautiful bill. And I think that was a big psyop in itself.
Sure, Israel got a lot of money.
But it's like the left, they just send people out there to do shit, to cause chaos and division and scare people and get everyone in an uproar, right? But the right, they send the government. That's what I'm seeing now.
I don't even, as you know, really believe in a left and a right. Our right is freaking a couple years ago's left. We've got a freaking socialist in office. Every single person is funded by the APAC, the same
Mhm.
people that everybody's arguing. The Jews are behind the radical leftists organization. You have no idea how organized these people are, these radical leftists. Wait, you mean the people who are paying all of the conservative politicians, except for like two? So again, ultimately, it's all fake and gay. It's all a lie. It's a freaking puppet show. And if we become internally invested in this system on either side of the argument, they win. If we put our hope in another man or another entity, they win. We have to remain Christ alone and realize that things are going to suck, but they're going to happen exactly the way that they need to happen.
Mhm.
It's not going to make sense, and everybody's going to be a freaking moron about it
Mhm.
because they're probably an NPC anyways.
Yeah, like, and we've all been stupid about shit in the past. Like,
Mm.
and something I've talked about with a few people is this situation and supporting ICE getting this power, and Palantir coming in. I'm like, is it going to take as long for people to realize this is bad as it did with the Patriot Act?
Yeah,
Look up who wrote that, by the way.
yeah.
And it's like, guys, this is
Well,
such a fucking joke that we're like literally like I'm pretty sure that some of my students who I like guys I've had at my house, that they don't like me anymore over me being like, I don't think ICE is doing a
I
good
got you.
job, and
Right,
it's
right.
like because again, and my simple thing was like, they're not gonna fix it. And I'm not willing to give up any of my freedoms with little
To
freedoms
take
we
somebody
have.
else's.
Yeah,
Right.
no, for security, and this is something Heather Yeager's daughter posted was that quote. I think Benjamin Franklin: "Those who will
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice freedom or liberty for security deserve neither." And I was like,
Deserve neither.
"Damn!" I'm like, "Why haven't I heard that in a while?" And I felt stupid for not thinking of that because it fits perfectly.
It does fit perfectly. And the irony is that these people will try to continue to sacrifice more and more and more liberty for safety,
Mhm.
and they'll have none. And they'll know that they have none, but instead of taking responsibility, they will run from responsibility and try to give up more of their liberty until
Mhm.
they're a gray fembot computer worker with a Neuralink.
A great conversation, guys. It's wild that we have so many people celebrating feds killing civilians. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. You know, it's kind of like, but also, guys, like this isn't anything new. Think about the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. How many of us celebrated that? I mean, like Jacob and I were really young when they started. Jacob and I were like, how old are you now, Jacob?
35 or something.
Yeah, so you're just a little bit older than me, right? But Jacob and I were fucking kids when that war started. And we both went and fought in that war. Probably had some ideological beliefs behind it. I wasn't where I'm at now for sure. But I was like believing in the supremacy of the United States. Like we have to rule the world. And now I'm like, oh dude, that was horrible, you know? and and that's one of the issues I have with it, where like the support for Israel. Like, hey Jacob, how many Israeli soldiers helped you out in Afghanistan?
Zip.
No? Okay.
Freaking
Yeah.
zip.
And so it's like when I see when I see how many lies there were and how what actually happened to orchestrate this and what the results were and why they were doing it. And I think about like my platoon sergeant blowing his head off and going to a closed casket funeral for him, or my corpsman getting his limbs blown off and dying face down in the mud. And it's like, for what? For what? And
Mhm.
yet, how many of us supported it? How many of us
Mhm.
were on board for it? Now, is it
Mhm.
part of God's plan? Yeah, I believe so. And this is one of the things too, where it's like with the rabbit holes, the conspiracy theories, or just simply being woke, or like opening your eyes to the shit and not giving blind support to any group. I think it all leads to Christ, anyways. And
Mhm.
it's one of the things. Or I talked to a friend today, and I asked him, "Well, are you Christian yet?" Because I'm like, yes, because I'm like some of the guys, that we're friends with. I'm like, it will happen. It will just take time. I'm not going to push it on them. You know, um, and that's one of the things that where it's like, yeah, this shit's terrible. I hate that it's going this way. I don't worry about it as much though. And
Mhm.
and Jacob knows because I've given him a call after being like, dude, I couldn't sleep last night early in the morning, being like, these are the things I'm thinking about. These are the things I'm worried about. And, he's like, well, it's a part of God's plan. And, you know, eternity in the kingdom of heaven will be worth it. And I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
that's true.
Mhm. Christ went through so much, uh, being the Son of God, and a lot of people question their faith in God because of how bad the world is, because they think that they can judge whether the world is good or bad or whether or not God is in control, as if they didn't know what Jesus Christ himself went through as part of God's prophesied plan. So ultimately, we need to have perspective and realize that we're like this little retarded ant in an entire world where God has the entire plan and the entire timeline, and we know that His will is good. If we're seeing things that are bad that are happening, it's part of something so much bigger than what we can see because our perspective is so small.
Hmm. Right on. Well, hey, Jacob, shout out your fishing stuff. We can close out because like
All
I
right.
haven't even, dude. I feel so bad. Like friends with channels that I've just been honestly I've been helping my wife more with her stuff. I caught up
Hmm.
on most of my sewing orders. Oh, by the way, if you guys want gear from me, take a fucking class with me because pretty soon not open to the public for any gear. I'm very caught up right now. I'm very happy to not be sewing. I don't need to sew. I don't need to work anymore. Basically I am a trophy husband now. It's great. I have my own
Yeah.
bathroom. I cook food and build shit out of wood now. But
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
going to continue training. It's just going to be like, if you want gear, it's going to go to my alumni first. It's not going to be a made to order thing very shortly. I just haven't done my admin computer work yet, but it's going to be like, hey guys, I made these. And
Right.
then when people start, well, when do we get, can I order Velcro holster holder? No.
Yeah.
Do you have my phone number? Then no.
Right. Well, the most important thing is I'll be teaching a firecraft class at
Oh
your
yeah.
place in March.
Yeah.
So I need 10 people to go and sign up for that because if you die cold, you will think that everything else that you've done with your whole life was a waste. Bad way to go, guys. So, fire class, uh, what, Central Florida? Would you consider it Central Florida?
Yeah. So look up where Ocala is. We're located in Bellevue. It's 20 minutes south of Ocala, right? So, oh, I got a new dog and he has a scary howl. Please don't ever try to come to my house unannounced because my dog will fuck you up. That was haunting. Sorry, I can hear him out the window.
Yeah.
Dude, he's still going at it. But yeah. So Ocala, 20 minutes south of there is
Mhm.
Bellevue. Okay. And we're gonna do it here at my place. If you know me and you're wanting to take the class, hit me up about it, and I'll give you details. But yeah, basically hour from Orlando, about 2 hours from Tampa. No, yeah, about 2 hours from Tampa. So
Yep. Classes are listed on exodus-tool.com under training. I will have more classes available soon. If you can get the right number of people who need some fire and fire tactical classes taught, I don't care where you are, I'll go there if the money's right. So, fishing, listen, most people have never been hungry and working for more than 24 hours before or more than 48 hours before. Most people have not been hungry and sleep deprived for that amount of time either. Hunger uh, is a whole lot harder than it looks in Hollywood. And so Mammoth Cave Lure Co. Right now, that's also listed at Exodus Knife and Tool. I'm actually teaching a class in Georgia this spring on teaching people to cook a fish over a campfire at Georgia Bushcraft as well. Another thing though is just freaking man, if you can stay warm and you can get a little bit of food, you can go a long ways. So that's something that we don't see from a tactical mindset in the tactical community very often, but it is in fact very tactical. So we've got those things going on, and all my crap's on exodus-tool.com right now.
hell yeah. Very excited. I feel like an asshole for forgetting about that. I've like
No,
been so off on my admin and just catching up on something. I reorganized my sew shop too. It looks nice now.
I need to do that.
We also got Aaron Little coming down. I forget the date, but I have shared it before. I'm gonna get both of your guys' classes on the website. Hey, cool thing too. When you come here for the class, we should find a wrestling match to go to.
What kind of wrestling match?
Dude, I went to an amateur wrestling match. I took the kids. We had a blast.
Yeah,
There's like local amateur wrestlers, amateur pro wrestlers from
yeah,
Ocala, and I think February 7th or 12th. They got midget wrestling going on at the bowling alley. Dude, they had it like 2 miles from my house. I wasn't able to go to it. I'm like, I gotta go to this. The kids had
yeah.
so much fun. It was fun.
Nice,
And you got to like meet the wrestlers and shit too. It was so cool. I got a t-shirt.
nice. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, sounds good.
All right, guys.
Bushcraft fire, guns, and midget wrestling.
Hell yeah. I'll be updating my training calendar. Got pitched the date to the host, but next Combat Arts Summit is in the making. We got people that I've already been talking to about it, and after I end the live stream, I'll even tell Jacob about it.
There we go. Rock and roll,
Stay
man.
tuned for that. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. You know, big message here is like we don't want our lives to suck. We don't want our grandkids' lives to suck by the way we react to this shit. So don't be a fucking NPC. Watch that video. Okay. Live stream I did on that. All right. Keep fighting communism, kill all pedophiles, and remember that training saves lives.